So, I'm supposed to be at work right now. I can't go to work because I'd been staying out in the dunes on my hometown island for been out there for at least like a couple solid months, and some people who are like elitists that retire to the island like to walk their dogs out there, and they don't like seeing some tramp living off grid. I've had people complaining to me. Finally, a ranger guy came out and told me that I can't stay out there. I moved to the front lot because I'd been told by a police officer that it was a separate lot, that it was a separate property, and I've only been out here a night or two nights. And the ranger guy showed back up and said this is also part of the property, so if I'm out here past 9, I'll be towed away. I was just getting ready to go to work when he showed up. I had to text my boss and say, I either have to come in late and figure out where I'm going to park the RV, or I have to leave early because I was scheduled to work 2 to 10, so I can park the RV before 9 someplace else and figure out where I'm putting it. I have no clue where I'm going to put it. It's on the island. That'll be okay so that I can still bike to my job. So I'm probably going to have to quit my job. And I have no gas. Well, I have enough gas to drive to the gas station. I don't have enough gas to get the generator going so that I can bring in the awning and the slide out that's got my bed. And I can't drive anywhere with the slide out and the awning out. So, So I guess I'm just going to sit here and wait to be towed. And I have next to no Adderall left. I have like a half a pill. Luckily, my aunt agreed to help me pay for that. So she sent me $100 to cover the monthly doctor's appointment, and also enough money to cover the prescription itself, because again my mother promised she'd pay for the prescription if I went on to the Adderall. She thought it would be the next magic fix-it drug that would get me to just do whatever she wanted, and when it didn't turn out to be that way and I pissed her off, she took back her promise, even though I made her promise not to take back her promise about this, even if she was angry with me, because it was the medication and she could really mess me up. So at least I should be able to get my Adderall prescription tomorrow. My first paycheck was not for much because I was just training, and they had me on like 15-hour weeks. It was like $400 or something. Yeah, and that's pretty much gone. Food and just necessities, gas, stuff. And that gas is already gone because this thing guzzles gas. Anyway, so I don't know what I'm gonna do next. I have no clue. I figure while I'm sitting here waiting to be towed away in the middle of the night because I can't go anywhere, and before I text my boss that I'm gonna have to quit the job, that I'm sorry because I can't do this anymore. I don't know what else to do. I figure I'll go over another incident that was on the list that my mom did. So number 5, when I was 14, she took me to a psychologist who told her she was not raising me right, and she ignored him and screamed she wouldn't listen to him at me. She screamed at me that she wasn't going to listen to him. So yeah, when I was about 14 years old, I stopped speaking to my mom for the better part of a year. I think it was, at the time I didn't really know why I was doing it. I would speak to other people right in front of her. I just wouldn't speak to her. And it drove her crazy to no end. And I know now that it was just like, it was the only bit of control I could have over myself and around her, like control I could get away from her. And probably over her to some degree, because I was tired of her controlling me. So, and it drove her crazy to no end. That I would just ignore her when she would speak to me, and that I could exact that kind of control, that I could act like she didn't even exist. So finally I was taken to a psychologist, a child psychologist, I guess, and also, sorry, I apologize. So that was one reason, and the other reason was because for an assignment in the 8th grade, this was my first year at the private boarding school I went to in Hightstown, and I'm gonna take my glasses off because they distract me, and I keep trying to remember to look up at the light instead of at my face so that I'm not distracting myself. Okay, so in 8th grade, we were given an assignment in art class to make some kind of work of art about a person. This is key to listen to the exact wording. A person that we thought was interesting. Interesting was the key word. Not cool or a good person or anything. Just interesting. So it just so happened at the same time that I was given that assignment in art class, I was also reading about Elizabeth Bathory. So she was, for those of you who don't know, Elizabeth Bathory was the cousin of the actual Count Dracula. So yeah, and the story, there's actually a movie made about her life and stuff, although I don't know how accurate it is. But the stories are that she was caught. She thought that bathing in the blood of young virginal girls would keep her young forever. She was a countess, and she would lure young girls up to her castle with the promise of, a job, as a handmaiden or something, and then they'd be chained up in her dungeon and drained of blood slowly over time, and she'd bathe in it. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that that was a big story made up by the local lords because they all wanted to marry her and gain the property, but she refused to marry any of them because she already had a son by her first husband, and she wanted to make sure that he gained, inherited everything and it wasn't stolen from him by her second husband. So there's a lot of controversy these days about whether or not any of that's even true, that she did any of that to girls, or that it was just trumped up charges to try and get her property from her. Anyway, so I was just reading. I was 14 years old. I happened to be reading about her at the time that we were given this assignment to paint or draw or make a piece of artwork about somebody that we thought was interesting. That's how I thought, definitely that's interesting, that she thought that she should stay alive forever by bathing in the blood of young girls. That's my mind was seized by the insanity of the story. So I painted a painting, and it was a painting of a woman bathing in blood with a pile of corpses behind her, young girls' corpses behind her, which also got me landed in therapy, of course, because I was in 8th grade. So, and at that point I felt betrayed. I don't know, I just felt everyone had treated me for so long I was just a weirdo, creepy person and different, and just one way or another I was always treated as the odd person. And I thought it'd be different at that school, and it wasn't right off the bat. And so I just remember going into this therapist that the school sent me to and being very disgruntled and angry and just being whatever, I'm just gonna say whatever, I don't care. So I think that lady who they sent me to, the therapist who they sent me to, was saying that there was a problem. And then in combination with that, I stopped talking to my mom. And so then my mom took me to her own psychologist, a child psychologist. I don't know how she found the guy. He was a man. He was a white dude. That's important. Keep that in mind for the future, because there's a text I'm going to read from my mother, and I can show it to you, where she tries to tell me that this guy was another doctor who isn't white. Anyway, because I'd met that guy before. I'd met both of them. So anyway, but I didn't remember this one guy's name because I met him once when I was 13, 14 years old, in 8th, 9th grade, somewhere around there. So my mom took me to him. He's a child psychologist, and what I remember of that, I'll never forget that appointment. I'll never forget it, because at that point I was so disgruntled and I was so angry, and just felt like the world was so unfair, and what was wrong with me, and why didn't a lot of people felt just very shallow, especially like as teenage girls are like all talking about doing makeup and stuffing their bras, and I was like all into X-Files, and I was like, bitches, like, aliens are taking over the species. We should totally be thinking about that. Not like, making our boobs look bigger. So I was a weirdo, like walking around wearing like just believe alien, glow in the dark UFO t-shirts and shit. So, yeah, so I remember, I'll never forget that I went in there to this appointment with my mom and there with this guy, and thinking I was going to be told, sitting there just thinking the whole time I was going to be told there was something wrong with me. This guy asked me a few questions, and I don't remember for the life of me anything he asked me, but I remember he was looking at me very sternly and very hard and like analytically, and he was asking me questions. I remember the nature of them because I remember my reaction to them being something like, he was suggesting, he asked me some questions, and then he made a suggestion to me, like something could be done, or I could do something that didn't matter, that was like harmful to somebody or mean to somebody. And I was like, but you can't do that. And he was like, well, why not? You can do it. And I was like, because it was an adult like suggesting that you can do something mean. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like, do something mean, or do something like not violate someone's human rights, something like that. And suggesting that was okay. And me reacting like, I didn't even say, like, the second response for me was like not even saying words. I just looked at him like, because I couldn't believe what this dude was suggesting to me. And he immediately turned then to my mom. As soon as he saw that look on my face, he turned to my mom and said, no, this is, you're making mistakes. Like, then he immediately started launching to my mother. I just remember this. He launched into this thing with my mom where he's going over, rattling off this list of things she's doing wrong, and how she needs to change all her behaviors and the way she's raising me and how she's interacting with me. And I just remember this like wave of relief washing over me, just like, oh my God, it's not me. It's not me. I'm not the problem. It's her. She's the problem. Like, because I knew, part of me really knew, like, she's definitely a big part of this problem, but like everyone had been acting like I was the problem. So I'll never forget that. And I don't remember that guy's name. And I've been asking my mom off and on for a while as an adult, what's that guy's name? Tell me that guy's name. I'd like to get back in touch with him and check up with him and let him know, just how much of what he told you to do you actually decided to follow through with. Because so she sat there while he was, oh my gosh, I'm sorry, my hair is a total disgusting mess. I'm living in an RV, and I've been taking baby wipe baths, so I'm like washing my hair with baby wipes. Sometimes I wash my hair in the kitchen sink, but I'm out of fresh water in the freshwater tank, so it's a baby wipe bath today. Anyway, so I'm sorry I'm fidgeting with my hair. It's just so gross and oily. Anyway. And I feel gross at work. Like, I feel like nobody wants to be getting sample treats and stuff. I hand out, like, treat samples from someone who's so gross. Anyway, my mom sat there and just was like, yeah, okay, yeah, sure, to the psychologist, as he was telling her, you need to do this differently, you need to do that differently, you need to interact with her differently, blah, blah, blah. She's like, yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, okay. And then I think 15, 20 minutes later, she and I are driving home from that appointment, and she starts talking to me, and I was still angry with her, so I was still not talking to her, and I didn't respond. And I could feel her boiling over. I could feel the energy just like boiling up. And suddenly she just starts screaming at the top of her lungs as we're driving home still. Like, I'm not going to listen to him. He doesn't know what he's talking about. We're not going back there. Ah! Like, and I just realized, sitting there next to her in the passenger seat with her driving, screaming that she's not going to listen to this guy. She's not going to do anything he says. Like, I'm trapped. I realized I was trapped with a monster. She won't control herself, and she shouldn't be allowed to be in control of anybody else. Like, so, yeah. And I just did the best I could from then on to stay at Petty, to stay at the private boarding school, so that I didn't have to go home and live with her. So she was told by a psychologist, a professional psychologist, child psychologist, whom she took me to, that I wasn't the problem, that she was the problem, that she needed to change, like, everything about how she was interacting with me, what she was doing with me, the power plays and the control tactics and so on and so forth. And she chose not to listen. She chose to do what she damn well pleased, because it's her way or the highway. You know, Michelle Phillips-Cottrell is always right in her own mind. So one of the times recently, let me see if I can find it real quick. Sorry, I should be better prepared. So one of the times very recently, like, one of my last times talking to my mom, or texting back and forth, arguing with my mom, which was, so, like, a couple months ago, leading up to all this, I brought it up again, you know, what about, let's go talk to that, because I was like, you know, you won't even go to family therapy or anything like that. She lied to the judge and said she'd go to family therapy. She's more than happy to go to family therapy. And I need to find the therapist. Yeah, well, I'm going to pull up the texts where I was trying to get her to give me her schedule so that I could make an appointment with the family therapist. And she's not being forthcoming about a schedule and stuff. And she's being difficult. And that's par for the course. Every time I try to trying to get her to go to a family therapist. Because she knows that if I sit down with the therapist and tell the therapist everything that she's done, she's going to get slapped with, I guarantee, some kind of cluster B personality disorder diagnosis, which she is trying to avoid. So she doesn't want to do that. She's not going to go, I don't think, ever willingly and sit down with a therapist. So I was trying to pursue a restraining order against her to see if I could get the judge to make her go to family therapy. So at one point in our text arguments, I went and was like, I was saying to her, okay, so let's go to that guy. Let's go to the psychologist. Let's go to the child psychologist you took me to. What was his name? Tell me his name, Mom, because I've been asking for his name. And I don't remember, blah, blah. F that. Yes, you do. You freaking remember his name. You remember the name of the child psychologist you took me to, who sat there and told you for like a solid 5 to 10 minutes all the ways in which you were wrong, and then screamed that you weren't going to go back and see him. You remember that guy's name. You remember people's names of, like, in the medical community and such, in the whole, like, up and down the shore. You remember all that sort of, like, I hear you gossip about people all the time. Anyway, it's like you remember. Or you can pretty easily figure it out. So at one point she texted me, and I'll find the text and I'll post it. I have to put together, like, a little website and post a bunch of texts and stuff that, you know, has links leading back to it. So I asked her, so I demanded his name again, and she tried to tell me it was Dr. Bola Renoir. I have the text where she's like, it's Dr. Bola Renoir. And I was like, no, try again. That's not Dr. Bola Renoir. Because I have memories of that dude from when I was a young teen. He was white. And Dr. Bola Renoir is black. I met Dr. Bola Renoir. And I remember the dude from when I was a teenager. They're not the same race, Mom. What the fuck are you trying to pull? Like, she's such a crazy ass liar. And she refuses to tell me the name of the guy who molested me. I've been asking her that for years, too. She told the judge that she told the detective the name of the father of the guy, because she knew the father better. When I spoke to the detective, like a day or two later, he said he hadn't even met with her that day. He had just met with her earlier in the day that he and I spoke. So 2 days later, he just met with her earlier that morning. He had an appointment to meet with her the day she was saying that she met with him, but he had to cancel it because he was sick. Tomorrow I'll be calling him. Tomorrow's Monday. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen with the RV. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Anyway, it's in here somewhere. I'll find it. I think this video is probably already probably pretty long. Yeah, it's like 20 minutes. So yeah, I don't know what else to do. I'm stranded out here in the dunes. I don't have enough gas to get the awning in or the slide out in to even take it someplace else. So I guess I'm sitting here till I get towed away. And I guess I'm texting my boss that I have to quit my job because I don't know how else I'm gonna get to work if I can't stay on the island because I only have a bike. So, and I can't park an RV anywhere near my job. This is like kind of the closest I could park an RV to my job. So, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna sign off now. Bye.